This is the early edition, a curated weekday guide to major news and developments over the past 24 hours, curated by Lizzie Jennings and read by an automated voice. Published February 4th, 2026 on Just Security, an essential resource for those shaping a just and secure world. Iran. A U.S. F-35 fighter jet yesterday shot down an Iranian drone that approached the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier transiting the Arabian Sea, according to a spokesperson for U.S. Central Command. Greg Jaffe reports for the New York Times. U.S. Central Command also said that Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps forces harassed a U.S.-flagged tanker in the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. 2 IRGC boats and an Iranian Mohajer drone approached MV Stena Imperative at high speeds and threatened to board and seize the tanker. Navy Captain Tim Hawkins, a spokesperson for the Central Command, said. Humaira Pamuk and Idris Ali report for Reuters. Iran has demanded changes to the venue and format for negotiations with the United States this Friday, 2 sources told Axios. The sources said that the Iranians now want to move the talks from Istanbul to Oman and hold them in a bilateral format with only the United States, rather than with several Arab and Muslim countries set to attend. One source said this is because the Iranians want to limit the talks to nuclear issues and not discuss missiles and proxy groups, which are priorities for other countries in the region. An Arab source said that the Trump administration has agreed to the Iranian request to hold the talks in Oman on Friday. Israel-Hamas war. Ceasefire. Israeli tank shelling and airstrikes today killed 21 people, including 6 children in Gaza, according to Palestinian officials. The Israeli military said tanks had fired on Gaza, and airstrikes had been launched after a gunman shot at Israeli soldiers and seriously injured a reservist. Nidal al-Mughrabi reports for Reuters. A Gaza health official told Reuters today that Israel has halted the passage of patients through the Rafah border crossing to Egypt, 2 days after it reopened. A spokesperson for the Red Crescent said patients had arrived at a hospital in Khan Yunis in preparation for crossing Rafah for treatment, only to be informed this morning that Israel had postponed the evacuations. The Israeli agency Kogat said in a statement on Wednesday that the Rafah crossing remained open, but that it had not received the necessary coordination details from the World Health Organization to facilitate the crossings. 3 women who entered Gaza on the first day of the Rafah crossing reopening told AP News yesterday that Israeli troops blindfolded and handcuffed them, then interrogated and threatened them, holding them for several hours and inflicting humiliating treatment until they were released. Asked about the reports, the Israeli military said no incidents of inappropriate conduct, mistreatment, apprehensions, or confiscation of property by the Israeli security establishment are known. Sami Magdi, Wafa Sharafa, and Sam Metz report. Israeli military tech startup executives say that foreign requests to purchase their weapons and related systems have significantly increased. Startup Nation Central reports that Israeli startups brought in a record $15.6 billion in investments in 2025, up from $12 billion in 2024. Shira Rubin reports for The Washington Post. Sudanese civil war. The Sudanese army announced yesterday that it had opened a crucial road between the cities of Kadugli and Dilling, both of which had been under siege since the beginning of the war. The army's advance was aided by a breakdown in the Rapid Support Forces supply lines from Libya into the Kordofan region, an army source told Reuters. Nafisa El-Tayr and Khalid Abdelaziz report. The Trump administration said yesterday that it would contribute $200 million to a new Sudan humanitarian fund. The UAE said it would contribute $500 million. Saudi Arabia and several other participants promised they would make pledges, but did not specify amounts. Today we are signaling that the international community will work together to bring this suffering to an end, and to ensure life-saving aid reaches communities in such desperate need. UN Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs Tom Fletcher said. Other global developments. 4 unknown gunmen have killed Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, son of former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, after breaking into his home, Gaddafi's office said yesterday. Michael Georgi reports for Reuters. UN Security Council President James Kariuki issued a statement overnight, condemning in the strongest terms the heinous and cowardly terrorist attacks across multiple locations in Balochistan, expressing condolences to the victims' families and the Pakistani government. Federal and provincial officials said at least 36 civilians and 17 members of the security forces have been killed since Saturday. Security forces have killed at least 197 militants. AP News reports. British police yesterday launched an investigation into Peter Mandelson, former British ambassador to the United States, over alleged misconduct in public office, following claims that he leaked market-sensitive information to Jeffrey Epstein. Alistair Smout, Paul Sandel, and Katerina Demeny report for Reuters. The leader of the Alliance Fleuve Congo M23 rebel movement in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Corneille Nangaa, yesterday claimed responsibility for a drone attack targeting Kisangani Airport, describing it as a warning to the DRC government. The use of Kisangani as a platform for projecting terror against our territories is now prohibited. The sanctuary of this rear base is over, Nangaa said. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has for the first time acknowledged Eritrean troop involvement in the Tigray War, accusing them of mass killings during the conflict that ended in 2022 and left an estimated 400,000 dead. Eritrea fiercely denied the claims, as tensions rise between the two countries amid mutual accusations of preparing for renewed war and disputes over Ethiopia's desire for Red Sea access. Samuel Getachew reports for AP News. U.S., Caribbean, and Pacific operations. President Trump and Colombian President Gustavo Petro emerged smiling yesterday after a 2-hour private meeting at the White House. Trump said the two had agreed to work together to stem the flow of drugs into the United States and combat guerrilla groups and terrorist organizations in Venezuela. "I believe a new path is being born today," Petro said, speaking to reporters at the Colombian embassy after the meeting. Petro also said that he gave Trump a list of major drug kingpins that both countries should work on arresting around the world. Annie Coriel, Max Barak, and Minho Kim report for The New York Times. Megan Messerly, Eric Bazile-Emil, and Diana Nerozzi report for Politico. Philip Timotija reports for The Hill. U.S. Foreign Affairs. The New START Treaty, which was struck in 2010 and limited how many deployed nuclear-capable missiles, bombers, and warheads Russia and the United States could have, will expire on Thursday. There is no sign that it will be extended before then. Jack Detch and Paul McCleary report for Politico. Researchers at Israel-based cybersecurity firm Dream uncovered a phishing campaign that mimicked U.S. policy briefings in an attempt to hack diplomats between late December and mid-January. Dream is attributing the campaign to the China-linked espionage group Mustang Panda. Dream CEO Shalev Julio said that the campaign successfully infected a lot of people, but we just don't know who and how big scale. Sam Sabin reports for Axios. Minnesota. The two brothers of Renee Good, who was fatally shot by an ICE agent in Minneapolis, spoke yesterday at a public forum held by congressional Democrats, which focused on the use of force by federal immigration agents. No Republican members of Congress were present as the brothers spoke. "In the last few weeks, our family took some consolation, thinking that perhaps Mee's death would bring about change in our country," Luke Ganger told members of Congress, and it has not. Michael Gold reports for The New York Times. U.S. immigration developments. The Homeland Security Department Inspector General Joseph Kafari is investigating use of force by ICE agents, according to a letter sent on Monday to the watchdog by congressional Democrats. The letter says that the Inspector General launched a review on January 8 of the tactics undertaken by ICE and Customs and Border Protection, urging the watchdog to speed up the timeline of the probe. Jacob Wendler reports for Politico. Several segments of the U.S.-Mexico border wall construction are delayed because they have not yet received final approval from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, two sources told Axios. Contracts for about 200 miles of border wall barriers had been awarded and were awaiting Noem's signature as of last Tuesday, according to a memo. A senior DHS official confirmed on Tuesday that the contracts have yet to be signed, saying they're going through the review process at headquarters and are not yet at Noem's desk. Only 30 miles of border barriers out of a target of nearly 2,000 miles by 2029 have been started and completed since the beginning of Trump's second term. Eswatini's High Court yesterday dismissed a challenge by human rights activists to the government's deal with the United States to accept third-country deportees, ruling the applicants lacked legal standing and could not produce the agreement. Lunga Masuku reports for Reuters. U.S. domestic developments. Trump yesterday reiterated that the federal government should nationalize elections, claiming that state elections are corrupt, even as the White House sought to frame his comments as support for the SAVE Act, which would require proof of citizenship for voter registration. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Republican South Dakota, rejected Trump's call for Republicans to nationalize voting and take over election management in 15 states. "I'm supportive of only citizens voting and showing ID at polling places. I think that makes sense. But I'm not in favor of federalizing elections. No, I think that's a constitutional issue," Thune told reporters. Erica L. Green, Michael Gold, and Robert Jimison report for the New York Times. Alexander Bolton reports for The Hill. House Republicans yesterday canceled a planned vote to hold Bill and Hillary Clinton in criminal contempt of Congress for refusing to testify in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, after the couple agreed to be deposed on camera this month and requested that they be allowed to do so at public hearings. Annie Carney reports for the New York Times. A federal judge yesterday questioned Justice Department lawyers as to whether there was a legal precedent for the Defense Department's attempt to punish Senator Mark Kelly, Democrat, Arizona. The judge said that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth appeared to be expanding restrictions on free speech that have applied only to active duty service members, not to military retirees. "That's never been done before," the judge said, adding, "You're asking me to do something the Supreme Court's never done." Salvador Rizzo, Tara Kopp, and Jasmine Golden report for The Washington Post. Trump administration actions. Trump yesterday signed a $1.2 trillion funding package into law, ending a partial shutdown that began early Saturday morning. The House voted 217 to 215, with support from 21 Democrats, following Senate passage last week. Sophia Kai reports for Politico. The Small Business Administration on Monday issued new policy guidance requiring 100% of all owners of a small business applying for the agency's primary 7A loan program to be U.S. citizens or U.S. nationals with their principal residences within the United States. The policy rescinds the previous policy issued in December, which allowed a loan borrower to have up to 5% of the business's ownership held by a foreign national, green card holder, or U.S. citizen living outside the United States. The Pentagon issued a public warning on Monday to Scouting America, formerly known as the Boy Scouts, saying that the organization risks losing its partnership with the U.S. military unless it implements core value reforms. Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said, "Back to God and country, immediately." In recent days, the Pentagon has begun finalizing plans to end all support for the Scouts, seeking input from the National Guard and the military's active duty components on the potential impact of such a move, according to multiple sources. Tara Kopp and David Ovalle report for The Washington Post. Trump administration litigation. A federal judge yesterday ordered federal agents to refrain from using chemical or projectile munitions for at least 14 days at or in the vicinity of the ICE office in Portland's South Waterfront neighborhood. Kelly Kasulis-Cho reports for The Washington Post. New York and New Jersey yesterday filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration, seeking an emergency court order to force the restoration of funding for the $16 billion Hudson River Tunnel before construction is set to halt on Friday. David Shepardson reports for Reuters. In case you missed it, yesterday on Just Security. How Greenland's relationship with Denmark exposes the shortcomings of being a U.S. territory, by Neil Ware and Adi Martinez-Roman. Fact-checking the success of Trump border patrol policies by Adam Cox, David Hausman, and Mary S. Hoops. Securing Justice for Cyber-Enabled International Crimes by Harriet Moynihan, DHS Warrantless Home Entry Memos Fourth Amendment Problem by Hannah James. Thank you for listening to Just Security's early edition today, February 4th, 2026. If you enjoy listening, Just Security's analytic articles are also available in audio form on the justsecurity.org website. To stay up to date on Just Security's analysis of law, policy, and current events, go to justsecurity.org, subscribe to Just Security on Substack, and follow us on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads.